So hopefully you just checked out our video on D.O.T. scams, all those things that you need to be aware of. Well, one of the biggest is the MCS-150. Well, the D.O.T., the FMCSA, they're full of all kinds of secret languages. You know, like MCS-150, OP1, CFR, MCS-90. I mean, I could go on forever with this secret language list. You have to kind of know what those are. The MCS-150 is your USDOT application. You are not going to want to miss this video because I'm going to show you how to go through and update that MCS-150, how easy that is, where these spamming companies are hitting you with all kinds of scams. They're charging you upwards of $600 sometimes to do this, and it literally takes like 5 minutes. So welcome back to D.O.T. University. I'm Ryan, the D.O.T. guy. Go ahead and help us out. Hit that like and subscribe button and ring that bell so that you and your team can be notified when we're coming out with new information that can help you stay off the radar. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. So what we're looking at now, this is going to be the company snapshot of Front Range Compliance Services USDOT number. Now, recently, the FMCSA did go through and pull some information off of this. Right now, it's kind of hit and miss for showing addresses and phone numbers if you're happening to use that information and do your safety performance inquiries and things like that. But there's a lot of good information you can still get on this. Now, what you want to do is you want to check your profile. Number one, your USDOT number. Okay, mine ends in 00. That signifies the month and the year that you need to do it in. So the first off, the second to last digit for doing your MCS-150 update, that is going to be the month that it needs to be done. So that would, a 0 would be the same as 10, so that would be October. And then the second to last digit, which happens to be a 0 also, I'm gonna go ahead and enlarge this so you can see this a little bit better, is a 0, so that signifies odd and even years. Now you can see we did an MCS-150 update on this one back in December of 2020, but we had some technicalities with that video and we have to kind of reshoot it now. So we're going to be coming back to you trying to get you this information. So check your date down here. Now this is one of the things that the scammers are constantly sending you out notices saying that you got to get your MCS-150 updated, you know, to be prepared, or you're going to get huge fines, tens of thousands of dollars. Well, doing your MCS-150 update has never been more simple as long as you have the correct information. So we start here, we go to the FMCSA website. Now, once we're on this website, it's you can see at this top bar, there are several choices that you can do. If you go to registration and you come down and click on update your registration. Now, this website, just so you know, is fmcsa.dot.gov. So once you're on this website, go ahead and come on down. Click on update your registration. It'll take you to this follow-up page. Unfortunately, still isn't there. Does not quite there yet. But if you come down to related links right here, it says FMCSA online registration and updates, and that's going to take you to this portal, which is the right page. And it's kind of scary. It's got this red writing and a bunch of text up here and everything. This is all just to let you know some things that are going on within the FMCSA themselves. But if you go ahead and scroll down this page, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom in again just so everybody can see this a little bit clearer. So in these boxes down below, you can see the choices. So if you were applying for a DOT number or operating authority for the very first time, you'd be up here in this first box. But if you come down here a little bit further down, the title of this box is Existing Registrations and Updates. If you click in this first box, it says, I need to update my USDOT registration and file my biannual report. That's the one that's done every 2 years. Now, you can file it more often. Okay, we recommend you at least file it every 2 years. I think with our clients, we file annually. You'd also want to do an interim filing if you had a major change to your organization, like a big switch of the number of drivers, number of vehicles. Maybe you cut back or you added on a whole bunch more. Anytime you have a change of address or phone numbers, or if you have an update to a safety person that happens to be involved with that. Now, once you're done with that, go ahead and click continue. So this next page, what we've got going on with this one, this is where you want to go through. It gives you a little bit of information. If you don't know your PIN numbers and things like that, you can click in here if your PIN's been compromised so you can reset your PIN. If you're not sure about that, make sure you check out our video on how to reset and obtain your PIN number, because you will need it to proceed on. But we go ahead and click this next, file electronically. So on this next page, what we need to do is you need to go through and fill in all these fields. So first off, you're going to need your USDOT number. You're going to need your FMCSA PIN number. Now that is your secret PIN number that you're going to use for your company. You know, don't give it out to individual sources unless you trust them. You know, we use the PIN numbers for our clients that we're working with, but again, we have a service agreement, we're a trusted source, that kind of thing. But I would never walk into a company on day one and be like, hey, give me your PIN so I can see it. Because remember, whoever has your PIN can control your USDOT number. And then lastly, you're going to need your EIN or social security number. That's going to be the number that was originally registered for that USDOT number. If maybe it was a smaller company, just a one-horse operation, they might have just used their social security number. If it was a corporation or a limited liability company, they probably used an EIN. So whatever that number is, and then down here you'll go through and input who the company official is. It's authorized to make changes on this form and what their title is. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in, and we'll be right back with you. All right. Once you have all those fields completed, then you'll go through and just hit continue. And what that should do is then bring up, you know, if there's any light companies or anything like that, it'll bring up the companies that are associated with it, select the right one. In our case, you know, because we have the PIN and that information, it just selected the correct company, Front Range Compliance Services, LLC, DBA of the DOT inspector. That is correct. We're going to go ahead and click continue here. Now, once it comes to this field, this is the start. There's going to be 3 pages that you have to click through for your MCS-150. Now, you just want to go through, first off, make sure that your title is correct. So we are listed as intrastate non-hazardous material carrier. Now, there's a bunch of choices down here. Make sure you check the correct one that applies to you, whether you're a hazmat carrier, whether you're a carrier and a shipper, or whether you're interstate operations. And then you have to, again, sort through. The very bottom section right down here is going to be if you're carrying hazardous material and you're carrying the really nasty hazardous materials that require special permits and different things like that. And that's where that information will down here. Now, our current company type is correct, so I don't need to select anything in this box. I can just hit continue, and that'll take me to the next page. All right, so now once we're on this next page, this is going to be the actual basic information. If you're removing somebody off of the MCS-150 profile, meaning like a former employee and had their email, or a former service provider and they had their email on it, this is the page of where you're going to go through and do that. So you want to go down through the page, the information, and you're going to want to update everything that is in here. So make sure everything is good. If it all should be set, if you don't need to do any changes, it's just kind of a read through and make sure everything is good. But make sure your addresses, your phone numbers are good. Again, these are going to be the places that the DOT is going to contact you, and you want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information, because you don't want to risk losing that. Now down here under the email address, again, make sure that you change that. If you have an update as to, you know, who is receiving those contacts, that's super important, because as you noticed, if you watched my resetting your PIN number, you had to have a good email address or a good phone number for a cell phone number in there in order to get that. So make sure you get either the correct phone numbers listed and also email address. That way, you know, everything is up to date and the most recent current information is coming to you. From there, go ahead and change the names of the individuals, the officer names that you'll have in there, or leave them as they are so that you can be prepared. Now, once you get everything entered in there, just go ahead and click continue, and that'll take you to the next page. All right, now we're on the third and final page of the MCS-150 update, the modification that you're going to go through. I'm just going to scroll up just a little bit for this. So again, it's got the company information. You're going to have your mileage in here, so go ahead and insert your mileage, update that every year or every 2 years. And then you also want to make sure, don't forget to update the mileage reporting year. So we just finished 2020, so I'm just going to update this to 2020. Because we are now in 2021. So I'll say that my mileage was 20,000 miles for 2020. So again, this is kind of a faux profile just used for training purposes. We don't run any trucks or anything like that. I just want to show people how to update this. You know, your mileage is super important though, because that's how the system goes through and calculates how many crashes you're going to have per million miles. So if you just go through and put in, you know, 20,000 miles, but yet you've had 2 million miles, That's super important, because if you get a couple crashes, then it's the system is going to go through and calculate that you're way out of range, and it's going to say, man, by the time you get to 1,000,000 miles, you're going to have dozens and dozens of crashes. So they don't make sure that you have a good mileage figure in there to accurately represent your company. All right, now once we're into this last page right in here, this last little section, this is going to be your classifications. Put in your carrier classifications, check all that matter. If you use other, then no problem, just go ahead and check other, and then put in what you carry as far as what your commodities and that is. Now down here, when we get into the hazardous materials section, this hazmat section, you're going to select your commodities that you're carrying, and then you're going to indicate whether you carry it in either carried or shipped, okay, or if it's bulk and not bulk, okay. Now it's not letting me select shipped because it's not listed as one of my options. So when on that very first page, if I would have put that I was a shipper, it would give me an option for both. So again, select which one you carry, and then select if you're carrying it in bulk or non-bulk, as it would apply to you. Then you get down to your vehicle numbers, okay, vehicles and drivers. That's going to be the last little section here. Going to be how many owned, how many leased, and how many are trip leased. So make sure that you put that in. It's going to break it down by straight trucks. That's going to be your pickup trucks, your tandem axle dump trucks. Then it's going to come into your truck tractors. That's going to be your trucks with a fifth wheel plate. And then you have, again, how many trailers. And then if you're dealing with hazardous material, how many cargo tank trailers do you have, or how many cargo tank trucks do you have from there. And then, of course, it gets into the passenger vehicles. We've got motor coaches, school buses, minibuses, vans, limos, so on and so forth. Okay, so go ahead and put your numbers in each of those boxes. You don't have to put a 0 in the other boxes. So just add the numbers to where you need. And then down here, you're going to select your driver count. You're going to put in here how many drivers you have. Now, you're going to want to break these down by if you have local drivers, if you have drivers that drive further. You don't want to input a driver twice, because for every driver that you count, that you put in one of these fields, it's going to count that as a whole new driver. So you'll break that down per how many drivers you have. So if you have 10 drivers and 5 of them run across a state line, then those would be 5 interstate drivers. And if you had the other 5 that just stayed local, then those would be 5 within a 100 air mile radius. So you can see you have interstate within a 100 air mile radius. That's going to be interstate, meaning crossing a state line, or interstate, 2 points within a state, but the load originated outside of that state. Check out our interstate versus intrastate video to really clarify that for you. And then if you have intrastate operations, then again, select those. But you'll put your drivers in. That'll give you the total down here at the bottom where it says total drivers computed in this field. And then how many of those drivers have a CDL. And at that point, that's when you would go through and change that out to CDL. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave this as 0, just because, again, this is a training profile, just to kind of show you how we get everything done. Once you get to the bottom of this third page, you're done. You have completed it. Just go ahead and hit modify. All right, so now you're done. You've completed this. All you have to do is one more last and final step, and that's to generate your MCS-150 so that you can save it in your file. So go ahead and click on this blue button. That will pull up that screen. You'll pull up this screen right here, and this is going to be your full MCS-150. I'm not going to scroll all the way down through it. It's just the actual full view of it. Now, once you're onto this, what I like to do is I just print it to a PDF file, just like that. And then what I will do is then I will save that in my documents exactly where I would want that to go for my client, my motor carrier, or myself. So go ahead and save it. So if you're not a computer person, it's not a big deal. Just print it out and put it in your filing cabinet to where you're going to have it there. Now, again, once you have that all done, you're good to go. You've done your annual update. You see how quick and easy that was. It's kind of longer because I'm explaining it as we're going. But again, this is something that the scammers hit you with. Your MCS-150, your biannual updates all the time. Be super, super careful, and don't share this with anybody. You guys have this, and if you need some help, that's what companies like me, Front Range Compliance Services, are there for. You can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. But do not get scammed. Don't let them take over your D.O.T. number, and actually charge you tons of money to do this, because they're threatening you with fines and things like that. So just be extra cautious out there. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments below. We'll get to them, and we'll make sure that we try to keep y'all as well informed as we can. Stay safe out there, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a good holiday season. Talk to you on the next video.